In the early days of the web, we were used to waiting. But today, modern users demand instant feedback. Yet, many of our production applications are suffering from what I call a slow motion tortoise running in the browser. Have you experienced UI like that? The traditional server-side rendering has a massive all or nothing problem. We call it as a buffering problem. In a standard SSR, the server is a perfectionist. You seeing on the screen, you have a server and it is connected to two databases. One is WeatherDB, another is AnalyticsDB. And it is supposed to serve the weather data and the analytics data to the UI that's running over here. Now imagine there are APIs to get the weather data and the analytics data. The weather API is much faster than the analytics API. The main problem with server-side rendering here is it blocks the rendering until the full HTML response is prepared. The user starts seeing the loading indicator or the blank screen, and finally after some point in time they get to see the user stares at a blank white screen because the server refuses to send a single byte of HTML to the browser until every database query, every API call has resolved. Even if you have a lightning fast header or a weather API which is fast enough to provide response, the slow analytics API will force server to hold the first byte to the client application or to the browser. So it always depends on the slowest API when your browser is going to see the first byte. That's the whole reason in this case in server-side rendering you have a high time to first byte and FCP. FCP is fast contentful paint. It's a speed matrix under Google's Web Vitals, and we're going to see some of them in a bit towards the end of this video. In case you are new to the concepts like SSR, SST and ISR, I would strongly recommend you to go through this 3 minutes video. In fact, it's less than 3 minutes to understand how they differ, the SSR, SST and ISR. Today in streaming episode, we are building everything on top of SSR. I've given the video link in the description as well. Coming back to the SSR, server-side rendering, the classic SSR relies on single block pass. What does it mean? It means that the server generates the full HTML, we have seen that, then sends it and browser paints it. And finally, the JavaScript bundle loads and make it interactive. This whole process is very much monolithic. It creates a network waterfall. The final UI you see on the browser, it waits for the component document to get loaded completely. This creates something called Uncanny Valley of Hydration. Some of you must have heard about it, but for those it is new, let me explain this. Imagine a UI where content is visible, but the page is dead. How? Because due to SSR, server-side rendering, React gets the entire HTML. Now React has to hydrate. What does hydration means? React has to sprinkle its JavaScripts, its event management. It's all internal on top of that HTML to make that interactive, right? That's what is hydration at the high level. So React has to hydrate this entire component tree in a massive blocking task. So now if a user clicks on a menu, for example, as the main thread is busy, the hydration is massive, user feels that that particular portion is unresponsive. This leads to frustration. This leads to high bounce rates and a feeling of a broken software. We need to fix this, but how? That's where I want to introduce streaming to you. Let's learn what streaming is. The hero of our streaming story is Chunked Transfer Encoding. Have you heard about this name before? If not, let me explain to you. The Chunked Transfer Encoding is an HTTP 1.1 mechanism that allows server to send data in series of discrete chunks rather than waiting to generate and send the entire response at once. In case of server-side rendering or SSR, we have seen that server was preparing, generating the entire response and sending it at once. Here is opposite. Here we will be able to send the response in chunks. That's exactly streaming is as well. And that's what we need. So this chunk transfer encoding eliminates the need to calculate the total response size. Hence, it allows the server to keep a communication open without knowing what the final content length will be. And this is what enables us to stream the data from server side to the client side. Imagine a HTML file. Streaming allows the server to break the HTML into chunks and align it with the suspense boundaries. A suspense boundary is a built-in React component that allows you to declaratively specify a temporary fallback UI like the skeleton screen or the loading spinner, etc., to display while the child components are waiting for an asynchronous operation to finish. So if we are able to send the HTML by chunk and we are able to align that chunk with a suspense boundary within our UI, only that particular suspense boundary will be waiting for that chunk of data. Rest of the user interface, if it doesn't depend on any kind of asynchronous operation, they can get rendered without any kind of blocking. With traditional SSR, it was not possible. This unlocks something called selective hydration. Here, React prioritizes the region the user interact with. In this case, let's say this branch C. And React has prioritized in his execution queue that branch C should be at the top. If the user clicks on this one, imagine this is reviews. Imagine this is product details. So if the user clicks on reviews while product details is still loading, React will prioritize hydrating that specific region as soon as its code arrives, ensuring those clicks are never dropped. Hence, you will never face the problem that we discussed some time back is called Uncanny Valley when you are with streaming. Now, let us visually understand how streaming SSR works. The traditional SSR we understood, now with streaming. As usual, we have the server, we have the databases, WeatherDB and the Analytics DB. Just like before, we'll also have the Weather API and the Analytics API, and the client side will make a call to those APIs to get the data. But this time, the UI will not wait for the entire response to be created by the server. And moreover, the server now can send all the static information upfront, all the shells. You are seeing what is happening. I am getting the navbar, I am getting the header, all those placeholders where I can put the components after getting the API data. Everything is created already without having to wait for any of the API responses. Now we start the API responses. We get Weather API. As soon as the Weather API complete, because this is fast, the UI started getting created. Slowest API came, the UI started rendering, and the UI started getting created. So in this case, compared to our traditional SSR, we have low time to first byte and FCP is also quite low. Now let us understand how it works under the hood, and we call it as the fluid system. So we have seen with streaming SSR, the static shell is sent immediately. Static shell means layouts, navigation, CSS, etc. If you look into this small code chunk, this div is a static shell. Imagine inside this you have a header. Along with that, you see a placeholder with this template and an ID. This is the skeleton placeholder that is placed inside the suspense. Now this is not the wow moment. Wow moment will come now. When the async data resolves at the server side, the server doesn't send the raw HTML. It also sends a script tag. Now look into this, what script tag carries. The script tag actually carrying a logic to replace this template's ID S1's content, the skeleton, with the content of the HTML that it is sending. So document.getElement by ID, which will give you this skeleton, that is replaced with document.getElement by ID of D1, that is the loaded data. So your template data inside the suspense is get replaced with the actual data that you get from the server after the async call happens. And please note, my friend, all this thing doesn't happen for the entire UI. It happens only for a suspense boundary. The rest of the UI is still functional. If there is no asynchronous data dependency there, user can click anywhere, unlike traditional SSR where everything is blocked until all the response HTML comes from server to client. So this is the fluid system which enables streaming. I hope you understood this. To give an analogy, the traditional SSR is about filling the bucket of water, and only when the bucket is filled, use the water to give it on the field. Whereas the streaming SSR or the streaming is about just open the tap, let the water flow to the field directly. This is the difference. If you remember this analogy, I think you will never going to forget what is a traditional SSR and a streaming SSR and what are the differences. Let me know if you liked it so far. If so, post a comment. Please share this video. Please help growing this channel by subscribing it, because it takes lot of effort to create content like this and bring in front of you. Now let us go little bit more technical in terms of coding. Let us now talk about how this streaming is possible in React and also in framework like Next.js, TanStack Start, etc. We are going to talk about the latest React 18 and 19 APIs. The API support is available for both Node.js and also for the Edge. On Node.js, the API name is render to pipeable stream. It returns pipeable object. If you're aware of Node.js, you will know what pipeable object is. And in this series, I'm going to cover a lot about Node.js. There also you can learn. So render to pipeable stream returns pipeable object that you flush to the response. Now, as a developer who is interested in these internals, you need to master two critical signals. One is on shell ready. This is your signal for the users. You flush the shell immediately so that the header, the navigation, CSS, etc. available to the client. And the second one is called on already. What on already does, this is basically for the SEO. It waits for the entire tree to get resolved. You use this for crawlers, for the social bots that can't handle a stream and need the full HTML upfront. But remember, for the normal user, it is on shell ready. You can actually programmatically check whether the request is coming from a bot or a normal user. Based on that, you can actually call the individual method. And on error ready is for the error handling. On the Edge side, we have something called render to readable stream. Edge means like Vercel, Cloudflare, etc. This is promise based, and it returns a promise of stream that resolves once the shell is ready. So these are internal APIs that is used by the framework like Next.js, framework like TanStack Start to provide support of streaming. Even though Next.js may leverage the API we just now spoke about, but as a consumer of Next.js, as a developer, you might not have to really work with them directly. In Next.js, if you want to use streaming, you use it in this way. In Next.js, streaming is automatic via app router. You can use suspense in any hierarchy possible with the fallback to give a page level skeleton or the component level skeleton. You can go as granular possible with explicit suspense boundary. So streaming is performed using suspense in Next.js. In case you are interested to understand how suspense works and how to use it in the real world application, I have created in fact two videos. I want you to look into the latest one, which is called React Suspense, the pattern that instantly fixed data fetching hell. Give a look into it. It is available under 15 days of React Design Patterns course under tapaScript YouTube channel. Now let's look into the new contender, the TanStack Start. While Next.js streams UI, TanStack Start focuses on streaming type data through server function. This create server function you are seeing, that the create server function is the server function. In my opinion, this is a game changer developer experience because you can stream actual TypeScript based object using JavaScript async generator. This is async generator. You must be knowing if you know JavaScript already. Instead of a black box HTML swap using suspense, the client now consumes a stream of typed chunks. The real win here happens on the client side. You are consuming this chunk over here from the stream data server function using a for await of loop. You get full autocomplete and type safety of every chunk that arrives. So you have a greater control as a developer. It is much leaner, it is much explicit and perfect for data heavy application. And I'm going to teach a lot of TanStack Start in the coming days. Stay tuned to that. One word of caution. In case of streaming, the moment the first chunk of the shell is sent, the first one that we have seen some time back, the HTTP 200 response code, HTTP 200 OK status code gets logged. You cannot change the status code midstream. If a component deep down somewhere throws an exception, error, or hits a not found, you cannot send a 404 status code, you cannot send a 400 status code. Then how do you handle error in the client side in case midstream some error happened? That's the reason you must use an error boundary along with suspense. Are you understanding the concept now? Why error boundary comes into picture? So you wrap your suspense boundary with an error boundary. In case the streaming hits an error within your suspense boundary, the error boundary will catch that error, and for that you can show any error UI. The React Design Patterns course I mentioned some time back also cover a session on error boundary along with suspense. Please take a look into that. I have mentioned that in the description as well. Streaming improves web vitals. And this is what we're going to discuss now before ending this session. Let's talk about TTFB, time to first byte. This drops significantly because the static shell flushes instantly in streaming, right? We get to see at least the header, sidebar, the skeletons and everything immediately. Coming to FCP, which is first contentful paint, that completely decoupled now because the slow data fetching is gone. The INP, interaction to next paint, improves because selective hydration yields the browser. User no more find the problem of clicking on a menu or button and it is unresponsive. And finally, the CLS, this is something that you need to take care with streaming because we first show the skeleton, the loading of the skeleton using Suspense, and then we fill it in with the actual UI when it arrives, right? So there is always a chance of layout shifting, and CLS is about the cumulative layout shift. So you have to make sure that the exact size Suspense fallbacks are there so that it matches the layout when the data arrives. Now you understand that how Suspense can influence these important core vitals, the web vitals, and make your user experience really better. Hey, let me know how was the session. Did you enjoy it? Did you learn something new today? In the next session, we are going to discuss another fundamental topic like streaming. We might be discussing caching. But there is something for you if you stayed till here. In the description of this video, I have given you a cheat sheet. In that cheat sheet, you have the difference between a traditional SSR and the streaming called out graphically so that you can take a printout, keep it with you so that you will never forget and you don't have to probably come back to this video ever. But one request, if you like my teaching, kindly share my video. I need your support. Thank you very much. We'll be back again with another fundamental topic.